the best kind of relationship you can have with a woman is a boring relationship. Obviously, I don't mean you're bored with her. I'm meaning that the relationship itself isn't overly exciting or dramatic. It's not something that you're going to read in a novel or you're going to watch on TV. It would make really boring television. And that's probably one of the best compliments you can get on a relationship, is that it would be boring to watch. Because that means it's stable and it's healthy. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, why wouldn't I want a romance story relationship? Shouldn't I be aiming to be that kind of guy that she reads about in a romance novel? Yes, to a certain extent. There's some things in fantasy that you can imbue into yourself and into your relationship. But there's also parts of drama that you don't want to involve in your relationship, okay? You want a solid foundation where her attraction to you and your attraction to her is built off of very simple, boring concepts, okay? Not some tumultuous jealousy plot line, not some, she was avoiding me for years and I kept trying and then finally I got her. Ugh, that's not good for a lot of reasons. There's people out there where those kind of storylines, or I used to know her a long time ago and she rejected me, and then years later I improved and now she liked me. It's like, it's good that you have improved as a guy, but it's not great that she always is going to kind of remember your lesser, older self, right? You kind of want a girl to get the version of you now that is as close to who you are now, because then that creates a more stable, congruent image of who you are and what she can expect from you. And then, of course, you can grow over time, but you don't want any of these. You don't want a plot line that would make a good movie, because a relationship should not be causing you trouble. A relationship should be alleviating other troubles in your life, and of course alleviates the trouble of feeling alone and, someone to have sex with, right? And someone to grow with, okay? Obviously, relationships are more than just sex, but sex is a huge part of it that a lot of people overlook because, whatever reason, they don't want to seem shallow, they don't want to seem animalistic and primal. But it is the defining characteristic of why you date a woman versus a man, is because you want to have sex with a girl. I mean, if it's that much of a determiner that you ignore 50% of people on Earth and only focus on the other 50% that you're sexually attracted to, then maybe that's one of the most important parts of the relationship, right? Pretty simple. So what do I mean by a boring relationship? Relationship is your connection to her is built off of your sexual attraction to each other, your emotional connection to each other, which is highly sexual in nature, and your intellectual connection to her, meaning, you have conversations with her and you have the same values, or at least you respect each other's values if you're not super similar in some instances, right? Like me and my wife are very different in a lot of different ways. A lot of our values are different, except for the core ones that matter, like honesty and integrity and blah, 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 right? But we have vastly differing opinions on a lot of things. But it works because our connection to each other is built off of a mutual interest in the other person's personality. Like I'm very interested in who she is as a person, right? She's a contrast to me in a lot of different ways. She's very relaxed and stoic, and I'm very outgoing and expressive. And so I add excitement to her life, right? And then she adds stability to mine. But also we're very sexually attracted to each other and physically attracted to each other. So that being such a cornerstone of any male to woman or man to woman or woman to woman or man to man relationship, depending on what you like, that needs to be a very important part of it, because it is an important part of it. You can't deny it. But a boring relationship is just very simply, I like spending time with them and talking to them. I like the way I feel around them. I like talking to them, and I like fucking them. And that should be the bedrock of your relationship. Without, like I said, any crazy storylines, okay? if there's gonna be any crazy storylines, they should be something you do together, and it's something you face together rather than something that is in the relationship itself, right? So if you go through a crazy event, like we were in the war in Ukraine together, me and my wife, because she's Ukrainian, and so we were in Kyiv when the war started going down, and we were there for 9 days. And then we had a whole storyline of being under siege and then escaping the city, and then fucking escaping to Poland, and then going to Romania, and then living in Romania, and figuring out, how to get her to America, and then deciding to actually finally get married, and traveling back to a war zone to get married. Like, we've had a lot of exciting things in our relationship, but none of those dramatic, exciting things were because we had some sort of a dramatic plot line, right? Maybe early on in the relationship when I was more of a playboy, right? There was a little bit of that, because I was off, dating a bunch of girls and we weren't yet, 100% official. That might have added a little bit of intrigue and excitement. But that can cause its own issues in and of itself. In one sense, you could say it's very good, that a girl knows that you're very desired. On the other hand, it can cause a lot of conflict, but generally I handled it pretty well because I was very honest about it, right? What you don't want is, like I said, these plot lines that are built off of deceit, and lying and cheating and interest and disinterest. Like, me and her never were not interested in each other. Like, from the very beginning, I really, really liked her, and she really, really liked me. And then at every step, when, we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and then we talked about getting married, then we got married, it was a very simple, yes, I want to move forward. Yes, I want to move forward. Yes, I want to move forward. And there wasn't a lot of resistance from either of us, right? That is a healthy relationship, right? There's, of course, so much more to a relationship, like communicating and dealing with it, problems that come along. But a good sign that the relationship is healthy is that it is boring from the outside, right? It's a bit of a clickbait title, but it actually, has some merit, because a lot of people out there are drawn into toxic relationships and they stay in them. And I think people stay in them because of two reasons. One, they stay in them because of lack of abundance or scarcity, right? They don't really have a lot of choices. Okay, so this is better than nothing. That is a reason that people stay in a relationship. Okay. But I think there is a second reason. And I think that people are actually addicted to the up and down of not even toxic relationships, but just generally not a good relationship. Not every relationship is like toxic and, there's something super crazy going on. Those do happen and people get addicted to those. But even ones that are just like, like, it's whatever, but boring in a bad way, right? There's boring in a good way, which is what I've explained. And then there's boring in a bad way where you actually just like aren't that into each other, right? But there is a type of relationship that has a spectrum between super toxic and like fucking, just imagine the crazy stuff in a relationship, and then like mildly toxic. That people are stuck in them because they like the excitement that comes every once in a while. And I've been in those relationships and I know why they're exciting. Like when I was in college and I dated this hoe. Like, but she wasn't the only guilty one. I was guilty too, right? We were excited by the fact that the other person was desired and that we could get them and lock them down. And then everyone else, all the girls wanted me or all the guys wanted her. And it would cause competition and you have to prove how good you are. And, someone would flirt with someone else and make the other person jealous. And then and then we would have a fight and then it would be resolved. And then we would feel gratified because, oh, we won, right? It's very, very toxic, right? So whether it's jealousy or just a lot of fighting, and then when the fighting is resolved, then you have the makeup sex and the, oh, I really love you and I know we care about each other and da-da-da. Holy shit, dude, that stuff is so fucking exhausting Like, it's so goddamn exhausting. And it perpetuates itself. Like, conflict is going to lead to more conflict. You're not going to have these, people have these spikes of conflict and then they resolve and then they're just sitting and waiting for it to come back because they haven't dealt with the root cause. And the root cause is either the person you're with just sucks or you haven't yet addressed the cause between you two. It's a lack of trust. It's a lack of interest. It's a lack of contentment. You know, one of the people in the relationship feels like maybe they might have settled or maybe they, like, there's all of these little chaoses that can emerge when the relationship isn't simple. So maybe another way to say this is the best relationships are simple relationships. I like being around this person. I like having sex with them, and I like talking to them. We don't have to go out to fancy dinners. We don't have to go on vacations. You can do those things, right? But they aren't the bedrock of the relationship. The bedrock of the relationship isn't, oh, she likes that I'm this super high-performing, super successful guy. Because what happens when you want to change direction, right? And you, like, is she attracted to you or is she attracted to the show that you're putting on? To a certain extent, everyone is putting on a show, but there is definitely a difference between someone who is putting on a lifestyle and someone who is just attractive. Like, I just enjoy hanging out with people. Or this person. They're like, think of a friend that you enjoy being around that you don't necessarily do anything with. You just enjoy talking to him because he's funny or he's, you know, really good listener or a good conversationalist or he gives you good advice or you love playing games with him. There's something about just spending quality time with that person without any extra flair going on. Right? That's the kind of relationship you want to have with someone. And you want it to be as smooth as possible. You want to avoid conflict. Sometimes there is this, I think a lot of people fall for this, especially people who get rejected and then they become, oh yeah, I need to become the asshole. I need to become the player. I mean, you could be a player and there are attractive things to it, but some guys will do it as a reaction, right? Then there's people who just are players because they just like to fuck a lot of girls, right? But guys will like, oh, I got to be the asshole. I got to be toxic because then that keeps her like wrapped up in the excitement. It does work. But very often it's immoral and involves, you know, a lot of shitty behaviors, which are not going to be good for you in the long run because it's going to come back and bite you in the ass and it hurts her. But also it's very hard to keep up. And it's not as strong as someone who's just genuinely really attractive. Give me a person who's like super toxic and gets girls all riled up, and then give me a guy who's just like solid as fuck. And I don't mean like boring. I mean like he fucks the shit out of her, is really fun to be around, is really cool. She's going to chase after that 9 out of 10 times. It's just the fact that most guys suck in comparison to the guys who cause a lot of emotional spikes and up and downs. That girls chase after that up and down because at least it's better than low. What I'm talking about is a guy who, like I said, blows her fucking brains out with dick, is a really good conversationalist and fun to hang around with, but also really cool, but has really strong boundaries, and he enforces them. If you combine those things, you can be any toxic guy any day of the week. So just having good game, good fucking dick game, and having strong boundaries and not letting people walk all over you, and, you know, inevitably there's going to be conflict in a relationship. But they're going to be small little conflicts compared to this dramatic soap opera TV show shit that a lot of people have going on where they just fucking argue all the time. Like, I have friends in relationships and I know a lot of people in relationships, and I just hear the kind of shit that they get into. Like, oh, we had another argument, or we had another argument. And I'm like, how the fuck do you get anything done? Like, how are you not in a perpetual state of fight or flight with this person? Why do you enjoy being around this person? But they love the up and down. They love it. Or it's better than nothing. It's better than having to go out and approach and meet girls and do the old rigmarole and go on date number 1 and date number 2, get a flake, get a ghost, go on the next, the whole fucking shebang. For them, it's better than doing that. I don't know why, but fuck me. I don't know how some of you deal with this shit. I have clients tell me about relationships, and I'm just like, dude, you can't convince a guy to break up with a girl. It's the hardest thing in the world. Or to not pursue a girl that he's interested in that's not good for him. But there's always something about it that guys like, right? And most of the time, well, here's the third reason. Like, it's kind of a mixture of the two, but the real third reason I think a lot of guys get stuck in toxic relationships or just relationships that aren't solid, not even necessarily like abusive or anything crazy. It's just really hot pussy. Like, right? I've seen guys get caught up by girls who are just like fucking, like, she's just really hot, really pretty, gorgeous, whatever, and just the pussy is heroin, and you were just addicted. And it just goes to show you that I don't think it's the fact that she's toxic, because I've fucked girls who were like, or like cute, but I'm definitely not gonna date her. Like, oh, she has a great body, but she's not hot enough for me to actually like make my girlfriend or whatever, right? And they've tried to pull toxic shit on me, and it's hilarious because I'm just like, yeah, like, it's not very effective. Like in fucking lightning against a rock type Pokemon, and it's like lightning bolt, and it's like, that's not effective, dog. That didn't do shit to me, because the carrot on the end of that spiky stick is not worth like chasing after, right? So being toxic in and of itself it works sometimes, but it only works really because the person doing it is attractive enough that they'll put in the work to get the carrot. So the important part there is just being sexy and attractive, right? So having good fundamentals and good dick game, and having boundaries that make people respect you. These are the things that really create the chase. The toxic stuff is just unnecessary baggage that people falsely attribute to their success, because it's the fireworks. It's the exciting part. But really, at the end of the day, dude, just have good fucking fundamentals, good dick game, and enforce boundaries, and have good self-esteem, and girls will chase after you so fucking hard. And you'll have a really, really solid relationship that is stable, and there's not huge expectations. Like, you haven't built the relationship on anything but I just enjoy being around the person. That's it. It's very healthy, and it's real too, right? It's very hard to, you can't really pin down one thing that makes you, but having a relationship built off of those simple concepts is as close to like you know the real you, she knows the real you, and you know the real her as possible. But yeah, so boring relationships are what you should be striving for. Just you and her hanging out, vibing, fucking, watching movies, going out to dinner occasionally, maybe once a year or twice a year, depending on your income. You go on vacation, like, that's it. You don't need a crazy social life. You don't need to be constantly doing this, constantly doing that, this and that. If that's what you just like to do because that's the kind of person you are, okay. Some people are busybodies. But then that's your version of hanging out and just vibing, right? But it doesn't have to be things that are like really, really, really expensive or exciting or baller. It's just you and her spending time, because that's what most things are. Oh, we're going to go on vacation. Well, what are you going to do on vacation, motherfucker? Right? One of the days you might do something exciting like jet skiing or whatever, but most of the time you're going to be sitting around eating food, sitting around fucking. No matter where you go, no matter how exciting your life is, at the end of the day, it's mostly going to revolve around sitting around and talking, right? So remove the veneers and just focus on the solidity of the connection you have with her, intellectually, emotionally, and sexually, and you'll have healthy relationships. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in coaching with me one-on-one, there's a link in the description. You can sign up for a consultation. If you're interested in my day game course and how to meet beautiful women that you pass by every fucking day and you don't have the balls to go fucking talk to them, right? You gotta meet girls somehow. Don't be a pussy and do fucking online dating. Go meet girls in real life. So get my course, Meet Girls Everywhere. It's in the description below. Get my texting book. I bet you suck at texting, so fucking fix it. All right, that's all the shit. in the description below. I'll see you soon. Ciao. Bye.